Thank you, everyone. I would now like to invite NEC member Niraj Shah, an alumnus of School of Interior Design, CEPT, Ahmedabad, co-founded I Do, I Do Design and I Do Graph 22 years back with his partner and wife Minali Verma, also a CEPT alumni. It is a multidisciplinary firm with two main verticals, interior design and graphic design. IDograph, the graphic design arm, works on brand identity, strategy, and advertising. Recently, he is a TEDx speaker. Neeraj was also on board of the Oscars panel as art director for selection of Indian film representation at the Academy Awards 2020. Presently on the National Executive Committee of IID and past chairperson IID Ahmedabad Regional Chapter 2017 to 2019. He has a degree in strategic management from IIM Kolkata 2013 and design thinking and innovation from MIT Institute Sloan to 2018. He has been speaker, moderator, and jury at various platforms including FOID, Kohler, CE Worldwide, IDAC, Fempreneurs, ICAC Art Fair, MIT Pune, to name a few. I Do Design has been awarded numerous design awards in retail design category and are partners at FRDC Bangalore on the top 50 retail design firms globally. He has been visiting faculty jury at CEPT, UID, JLSID, Anant University, NIFT, IED, Oro University with more than 25 undergraduate theses completed under his guidance. I would like to invite him on the stage and take this session ahead.
Check, check. Not bad. Good morning, everyone. I believe all of you have got some. Is it going to interfere with that, or it is? Check, check. Yeah, better, I think. We will need to have the whiteboard here, if or maybe on that side, which we'll use a little later. Yeah. Okay. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I think everyone else who was here before me has thanked you all enough, for being here. But why is it important is I don't think that, with all due respect to all the other five who are here, and out of which one of them has been a professor to us. Three of us here, Rishabh, Kaulav, and myself, have been taught by Yatin sir, and we are privileged and also nervous to know that we have Professor Krishna Shastri here with us in the audience. So, bhul chuk maaf. And if it does not go well, then you've still done a good job. So some of the interior design students are here. 50% of us out of the 6 have learnt from her. So thank you, ma'am, for being here. You've guided us a lot. Also, IID, being a part of the education committee. So what I meant by due respect was that I don't think we are here, or especially I can say this for myself, we are not here because we know too much or know enough to teach you, right? It's a development program, which means it is going to be 2 ways. There's a form that has been given to you, which I think will test your mind a little bit. It's been kept minimal, only 3 questions. But I think in every session, there's going to be some bit of a feedback that is going to come in, or there's going to be a kind of a workshop, because this is going to help. It is your experience which is going to help us define what interior design or design education in the future would be like. What I was given to understand as my topic initially was design thinking, and that's what I had signed up for. In between, it kind of changed and became foundation. Now, I believe that all of you here who have enrolled, who are teaching, are not necessarily teaching in foundation programs only. How many are teaching in foundation program? Okay. Oh, not bad. Okay. About 50%. Now, the problem is that whether foundation or not, there are certain things that we as faculty must learn from the foundation program is and should consistently keep doing that without forgetting certain aspects of creativity. And why we're talking about creativity is because this has been a pet subject for me since some time. It's great not to see my face, but this is required. What is important is, and this was a great learning, especially last semester, having been to about 6 institutes. There has been a realization, and this is not being critical about the process, but there is a certain understanding. And I think this will be great to learn and understand as a feedback, is that the conceptual thought process, which we have been taught in terms of creating or approaching design as a problem, is somewhere getting lost. And what I mean by that is that with all the effort that you as faculty are putting in creating a program or a brief for the students, what I saw may not be true everywhere, but in a lot of cases I saw that certain good ideas or possible better ideas were lost on the tracing paper and did not become the final result. Now, this could be only my single viewpoint, but not necessarily. In some cases, it has been demonstrated that this may have had better potential as an idea, but which was not taken ahead. Now, where is that lapse happening? Correct? We will not go into that process, but what we will try and do is to understand what concept itself means. Right? We will have about 20 minutes of presentation, and we'll have about 20-25 minutes of a small little workshop that we do, right? Which is one of my other pet projects. And you will realize the beauty of something that we take for granted very easily. The idea is that what we can do in the foundation is something that we can carry forward for 5 years of a design program, and to be able to challenge that every moment, every time that you are teaching in a classroom or a studio setup. And that's the beauty, right? Because it is a studio setup. With little help from our friend, and it's not a bad friend to have, it's called ChatGPT. Okay? It's not a bad friend. After having used it for almost about, close to a year now, I'm telling you that the more you throw at it, the better it performs. Okay? And you will realize, and I'm saying this, that please keep doing that. Treat it as a dear friend. Don't cringe at it. Okay? Because only the superficial is the cringe. But when you go deeper, it's amazing. And certain parts that have come out here are kind of amalgamation from those, because it actually kind of started thinking like how you're thinking based on the prompts. And that's why there is a word called creativity hacks. Why do we need hacks? We're in a design process, design school. This is one problem that is taken for granted. If you're in a design school, creativity is a must, right? All solutions must be creative. The downside is it isn't. And where does that get lost? Okay, sorry. Very important. And this I realized after speaking to certain foundation students. Certain students surprisingly were in foundation programs, and this happened at KU, in fact, when I was addressing about, I think, 700, 600, 700 students. A lot of them came in saying that, we are already doing some freelance work. We, post 12th, they started doing some work, very enterprising, that hustle culture of, this generation. At the same time, you know what? They had not even started the design program, and they had one thing to say. They said, what do you do? General question. This happened at Chitkara University in Chandigarh. They came in and said, so what do we do when we have a creative block? I don't think we even knew something like creative block. But today they know, because there is a performance anxiety. There's a pressure to perform, right? I'm sure all of you have been facing this. How do you deal with it? And we think they're not working. There may be genuine problems. And I think, Shamini, what you mentioned was great. To have a program on, planning the day initially, as well as being sympathetic, empathetic, and at the same time disciplined, is where the balance needs to happen, right? In order to be able to push in the right direction. Okay. we'll come to the creativity part first. So, a lot of things you may know, but I'm telling you that it'll be great fun to revisit something which is very basic and fundamental. One is, what is the role of creativity in design education? And this is both. We're not only talking about creative results coming out from students. We are talking about creating creative programs for individuals, especially at the foundation level. Now, can these things be built in into the program itself? If it is a commercial design program, if it is a residential design program, does it just need to fulfill all those things that it does? We try our best to go to realistic problem solving. Is that what is required in a design school? According to me, no. We need to do that. Obviously, they will learn. Don't be pressurized. There's another very important thing, and I think it could be very, very conclusive, at the end of the last one, is that I think this whole pressure, and I said this on a podcast at KU as well recently, is that the pressure of professionals saying that the students are not prepared enough is incorrect. It's a slap on every institute that exists. Every professional in an office environment says that the students who are coming in don't know enough. I don't think they knew enough. If it's a 4-year program or a 3-year program, then it does enough. And you cannot load the students with more. How much more can you teach? There's only that much that you can teach, with that much of dedication, with that much of time, 24 hours in a day. And today the pressures are different because you've got so many other things happening parallelly other than education, because co-curricular is important. We are the ones who load them with work as faculty and tell them, oh really, you don't go out and watch movies? Because you didn't give us time to watch movies, right? So one is engaging problem solving. Innovation. Why do we think that innovation is not required in something like this? Innovation is required in terms of not reinventing something, but in terms of actually thinking innovatively about the same thing again. Critical thinking. Critical thinking is required at the peer level. The problem is that we try and balance it out from faculty to critical thinking coming down to the students. What if critical thinking happened at the student level itself, right? And how do we generate that? We don't generate that internally because we think we're teaching them, so they already must learn. They don't already know. They have no scope to give feedback and comments to each other. But can we create an atmosphere to do that? Real world challenges, because finally it does that. It's not necessary that we do, but we need to keep subjecting them to real world challenges. And adapting to an evolving professional landscape. Now, what is this professional landscape? Now, what is done is done. What is done is history. And all that has happened in history in terms of design, it had its own reasons, right? And it also had an acceptability. It was accepted. That's why it is there as something. And what is it? Today, acceptably, time frame may have been drastically reduced. The acceptability time frame is reduced. You understand? There is a movement happening. Was it Baroque? Was it postmodern? Was it a reaction to something? It became history, it became something, but it became accepted either regionally, geographically, or globally for a reason. Where did that stem from? Today, all those things, and we may think about it as a fad, as a trend, but no, there is a reason why it is happening. And we keep going back to your lowest hanging grape. And lowest hanging grape in design is art, right? Art. Are we subjecting ourselves as faculty or students to art, to what is happening in society? So thankfully, history brackets much in terms of context, origin, and visual manifestation, which can be grouped as genres. And with a lot of foundation programs, what has worked very well is for students to understand that there are genres in everything else, which may stem and begin from something that is basic, right? So you have a basic set of words, you have a basic set, principles of design, gestalt, color, material, or all of it, or all of the above. These put together create something with a certain thought process, which becomes a movement, ism, style, right? A lot of students are very easily able to understand one thing, which is music. And I've experimented that. They are able to identify that with the same instruments, you are able to create different genres. And each one does something else. They are based on different philosophy, on different principles. Instruments may remain the same or may differ. Instruments' principle may remain the same. A string instrument, sitar or guitar, may give you a different sound, but both are string instruments. They are able to understand that what it manifests itself into finally is something else. So, why are we talking about this? Is that in this particular case, we don't need to reinvent the wheel, but we need them to know, educate correctly about what it may be classified as. One must know the norm to think beyond or think inclusive. Now, why? If you don't know what Baroque or what Art Deco was, you will be confused. You will not know what you are actually doing. You don't need to follow that, but you need to know that to either accept or oppose or mix to today's context or your own particular fancy. And there's nothing wrong with your own particular fancy if you're able to do the rest of the things that design needs to do. So now, what are these creative hacks? All this is available. I've just picked up about 5 or 6 of these. Do we actually do mind mapping or visual brainstorming? We leave it to the students to do, or we leave it to them as teams to do. Is it monitored? Is it controlled? Is it assisted? What we do is, as faculty, we'll give them an exercise and then we'll review it after 3 days, 6 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, right? Are we a part of that brainstorming process, or do we come in only at the level of the result? Now, random word association. This is the pet peeve, and we're going to do a small exercise later. Pick random words and create links to design challenges. I'll show you a simple way how this works and how it will blow your mind. Okay. Scamper method is substitute, combine, adapt, modify. You may have already used it. Put to another use, eliminate, reverse for idea generation. Now, this has been used in a lot of non-creative fields. In creative fields, we don't use this. Now, can this happen? It can happen even at a non-foundational level. Okay. I'm not going into those methods. Okay. Role reversal. Now, this we do sometimes. You can do it in a local language. Don't do it in English. Don't do it in a manner that it is instructional. You know, we're thinking that, okay, obviously you're designing for a certain user or a client. So, but obviously they are going to understand and subject themselves there. No, start doing role plays. Start getting the teams to start playing with each other and start imagining themselves within that space. And I'm still did not want to use the word imagine, but we'll come to that. And creative constraints. Now, this is a antithesis. The creativity comes in, and there's a lot of theory on that, comes in when there are more constraints put in, right? I don't want to delve on that because we are already too bogged down by constraints. We are creating too many constraints and therefore not letting the creativity come out. Okay, this is in terms of encouraging innovation. So one is cross-disciplinary thinking, combining elements from different subjects. And why this is highlighted is because this is one of the major advantages that you have in a foundation program today in design, because you have people coming in from different, they've still not made their choices, or they've kind of made their choices. They're in product, graphic, interior, exhibition space, or today UI UX maybe, product UI UX. How do you actually get them to start working on things together? And some institutes have been trying this very well and successfully. They're doing it in second and third year as well, and they're being able to GLSID. And in fact, I saw that when they had a product design, they had a graphic design student come in on board to start doing the graphics for that product packaging. So they are seeing the entire product through, because they know the product will not sell only based on its efficacy, but it will be based also on a few other things. Okay, diverse influences. Now, this is an infusion of certain aspects. This presentation can also be shared. If you like taking notes, it's good, but Now, changing, adding, subtracting context features. Now, this was very successful when we had what we were called time problems, which was given for 3 days only, or maybe certain number of hours. What it does is that it stretches your imagination. Your context and your program remains the same, or your project remains the same, but what you're doing is you're infusing newer elements into it. You may be subtracting something, you may be adding something, or changing the context completely or partly in order to infuse a new way of looking at it, thereby creating a new solution. This is a big problem. Failure as a learning tool. How many of us are able to accept failure? If you don't push it to going to that extent, we will never be able to come to that point of breakage of failure. And we look at that failure in students as a negative, saying that, oh, nahi ho raha hai. But what is the end point? in a creative process? It is not a predefined endpoint. The endpoint in a process is only number of drawings or that submission tick mark. But what about this? How do we gauge having reached a certain level as far as a thought process is concerned? And is there that point of break of failure? Real world problems, I think we're already doing, but this is more fun if you're able to put in a real world challenge in a very imaginary project. And ma'am knows, some of the best imaginary projects that were being done in the, for basic design at School of Interior Design. And I remember that in some cases when the students were not able to understand the project, I had actually said that, it's so difficult, they're not being able to understand. And we had a banter on that, that it should be understandable. But I think that those kind of imaginary projects are missing, and which were not only imaginary, but they were also being able to either test on anthropometrics, right? Even if it was an alien space, imaginary world, but it was still anthropometry of humans, right? So you're trying to mix two different contexts together, reality and imagination. Reverse brainstorming. Have you ever tried this? Now this reverse brainstorming can actually happen in the faculty rooms. How much of internal discussion on your own projects, what you're doing in the class, happens at the faculty room? Now this is what institutes must be able to do. To give in that space and time where faculty are able to actually interact with each other. Not just as friends, and saying that I'm trying this, but in order to have a very structured sense of, cool. Okay. So, a very often used word, pretty maligned, right? Or pretty taken for granted. Let's just look at this very simplistically. One is creativity in terms of creative problem solving, right? And that's what we're trying to do. Solve problems that have been solved actually for years, because that's what all our briefs are. Our projects are like that, no? Designing a shop, designing a this, designing a retail environment or a office environment or a home. Now in this creativity, the creative problem solving happens from, and where do you get all your ideas from? From the context. Context could be the space, the orientation in terms of your cardinal orientation, or your geography of that location, or where it exists, in the sense what is it supposed to solve. Context in the sense, if it is retail, then that's the context, right? Retail in Ahmedabad on a hill is the context. From the constraints, if it's on a hill and you can only build X amount, and you can only cantilever so much, and you can only rise this much, is a constraint, physical constraint. And you'll have other constraints in terms of what you wish to deliver, correct? And then from the brief, which is maybe a combination of both, or in terms of the brief itself is challenging enough, or reinterpretation of the brief. And if you read anything on creativity or creative problem solving, you'll realize that most often the solutions have come in only when the brief was re-looked at or questioned. And then the other side of creativity is imagination. We take this for granted. And what is imagination? Do you really think imagination is actually happening? And I'll demonstrate that to you in a while. And imagination comes from where? From anywhere, everywhere, somewhere. You may have your own pets where your creativity, your imagination comes from. It could be your own childhood folk story, folklore. It could be mythology. It could be culture. Or it could be from anywhere, meaning from anywhere in the world. And today you have a lot of external stimuli that comes in, which comes in, unfortunately, in some ways as complete visuals. But that's all right. When we think that that is required in order to push your imagination, it's not a bad thing. And when both these things happen together, I think that's when genius starts happening. And this is not that you become a genius. Genius is not an endpoint. Genius is that point in your life, every moment when you feel like a genius. And that is important. Do the students feel it? And do we feel it? I think it's tough. I mean, all of you doing this day in and day out, with so many challenges, with different batches, with different kind of stereotyping that we already start doing, with students when they come in, new batches come in. This batch doesn't work like this is like this, so I don't know how to deal with it. And every year you realize that your gap with the same batch is changing by 1 year. Crazy, isn't it? Every year you're doing the same thing, but now the gap is increasing, right? They're the same age. You're still doing that second year or third year or first year. Their age is the same. They've just changed. But you have grown by 1 year. So now in this, there is a certain amount of development, and it is not the end of it. You get that nice genius moment, then there is development, there is crafting, which you will learn in the future, and that which comes to not a solution, but a creative solution. Okay, this quickly is a few things that Google tells you, so that we go back to this whole idea of what is conceptual thinking. And we think of design concepts, no? We've learned it, no? Design concepts. And I know it was very funny, Mehul is not here in the crowd right now, but we had some very dear colleagues, and I take it very positively. I enjoyed doing it. They would come in and they would have their drawings finished. Obviously mine were not. I was still kind of a little behind. But they would come in with their drawings and, and the entire thing, "Arey, my work is all done, submission, everything is done. Ek concept bana bhi nahi aapne." So their project, their idea, bole concept bana ke dekho. And I did that. I did that for quite a few. It is in order to be able to understand in terms of what they were thinking. And it was not wrong, it was not a fib. They thought it was fib. They thought it was a skill that was about, kuch bhi bol dega to chalega. But it was not that, right? At some point, there was a certain strength in some kind of an idea, even if it was, sometimes a lot of people don't know how to express it. The drawings are done. They don't know. This is where we come in, where we help the students bring that out, right? So, conceptual thinking is a skill that enables you to understand complex concepts and come up with solutions to problems. Sometimes they're not solutions to problems, they're just understanding how this student is thinking. Is the ability to identify patterns or connections between situations that are not obviously related, and to identify key or underlying issues in complex situations. It includes using creative, conceptual, inductive reasoning. Understandable? Not taken for granted. We think conceptual thinking, हाँ ठीक है कर रही है ना, सब कर ही रहे हैं, they're all thinking. Whatever is happening in the brain is conceptual. No, design concept is not just the concept. And if you see this, if you can read this, this is what came up as a chart. It's unbelievable. This can be a, I can, create a little better version of this, and you can use this as a tick mark. If you're able to fulfill at least about 6 of these, I think it'll take care of a lot of it for that particular student and that project. Problem solving, creativity, critical thinking, leadership. This you'll realize when you're doing, team-based mind mapping. There will be a need for a leadership, and if it's not coming from the students, you step in as being a leader, because you need to organize those particular steps. Collaboration, abstract thinking, strategic planning, communication, finding a mentor. Every creative process or conceptual thought process needs a mentor. We think that we are there, but we need to be there during that thought process. And a lot more. There's cognition, there's motivation, there's leadership, there's communication and communication strategy. There's management, there's active listening, there's systems thinking. So this is one of the biggest issues that is coming up in foundation and otherwise, is understanding creative blocks. So there are psychological barriers. Students have this fear of failure, self-doubt, and perfectionism, because we push them towards perfectionism too much. No, this is it, this is not right, this is not right. At that process, what is right and wrong? Right? We just got to push it to that extent of being able to generate something out of it. Environmental factors, big problem today. Stress, lack of stimulation, and rigid schedules. You may think that our schedules are okay because they are not performing or they're not doing it. I don't know. Work around it. Figure out from them, what may be the right way to do it. I'm not saying that they are right. I know that a lot of discipline needs to be enforced, but can it be more inclusive? And social pressures. This is huge. Social pressure is not just your peer pressure internally. Very often that can be also used extremely well, right? You can use your peer pressure internally within the batch to start pushing. Okay, now this is another thing that I always ask. There is going to be a 20-80 principle, and that's another thing that you will have to decide as faculty initially itself. 2080 in the sense that what do you want to do? Do you want to get the entire mass, critical mass up, or do you want to kind of focus on, those 10 or that 20% who you think has potential and may perform well, and you want to push them and let the others just kind of rise because they are rising. But you'll have to decide this, and you'll have to decide this and gauge through experience, of so many years, that what is the right way for this particular batch. It cannot be your own idiosyncrasy. It could be after many years of experience, but yes, it needs to be kind of decided. Because otherwise, in today's day, with the pace, it's going to become very difficult. You will not know where the critical mass is coming. One large part of creativity is divergent thinking. Now, this is something that we as faculty are kind of little messed up with. We don't encourage bizarre, wild, or impractical ideas because we want them to be practical. We want them to work because we already have a preconceived or preset thing that it has to work. What is there to work? Especially why in the case of foundation? That's your only chance for the student to actually do and fly. So how do we help them and encourage them to explore bizarre ideas? Another is, what is the result? Fresh and unexpected concepts emerged after breaking through the initial creative blocks. And this has been done through certain experiments, etc. So let's come to one aspect of creativity, which is imagination, which we are leaving out. So there is one conceptual thought process, conceptual thinking. The other is imagination. Known to unknown still dependent on the external stimuli. When you're imagining, so you're going to be bringing in certain known elements. Whatever you see as imagination in your mind is coming in from somewhere that you have seen. But you're mixing known things or creating unfamiliarity out of familiar objects, right? Right? You're working the mind, thinking. Then there is no holds barred, low constraint, fun, bizarre, exciting. And what does this imagination do? The moment you come to this level of no holds barred, it's completely crazy. We have a lot of words, bizarre, crazy, out of the world, never thought of before, never seen before. What does it do? And this is what we are missing out on. It's called the aha moment. Are we there as catalysts to trigger this aha moment with the students? It's always that push. Khatam hua, nahi hua, oh, I didn't get it, I got it, I didn't get it. But what about that excitement? The moment you get them to come to that aha moment, the amount of dopamine, serotonin, or lower stress levels, they happen with creative processes. And I'm already experimenting with this with offices, with students, and of course with myself. Is one of the best methods for creativity, you'd be surprised, is silence and meditation. And why meditation works? Because it starts working on your prefrontal cortex. And it starts helping you in terms of your cognitive process. And that's what Rishabh, what I was telling you, the thesis or this would be, that why do psychotropic substances work on the brain in order to create creative processes? But it's not legal in the country and we cannot do it. But otherwise the idea would be to do microdosing and be able to actually engage. And now we have a lab in Ahmedabad which can actually do complete mind scan and gives you that process, that the moment a creative process happens and a creative idea comes out, it starts lighting up your prefrontal cortex just like happens in psychotropic substances or in meditation. So yeah, so it's completely scientific. Now we'll go to another scientific experiment. Can somebody help me with this? It's actually supposed to play. PDF actually has a link. No. Yeah, the PDF has a link. So, yeah. It's embedded, so it should just actually click ideally. So these are just 4 clips of films where you will realize what it means. Thank you. Super.
Wade Watts. My dad picked that name because it's my name's Wade Watts.
Second.
My dad picked that name because it sounded like a superhero's alter ego, like Peter Parker or Bruce Banner. But he died when I was a kid. My mom too. And I ended up here. Sitting here in my tiny corner of nowhere. There's nowhere left to go. Nowhere. Except the Oasis. A whole virtual universe. People come to the Oasis for all the things they can do. But they stay because of all the things they can be.
Can you feel this?
Yeah. It's the only place that feels like I mean anything. The Oasis was the brainchild of James Halliday.
Hello. If you're watching this, I'm dead. I created a hidden object, an Easter egg. The first person to find the egg will inherit $500 billion and total control of the Oasis itself.
Who is this Parzival? And how the hell is he winning?
Find him.
This isn't just a game. I'm talking about actual life and death stuff.
The Oasis.
The world's most important economic resource. It's nothing less than a war for control of the future.
Welcome to the rebellion. Wait.
Like many of you, I only came here to escape. But I found something much bigger than just myself. Are you willing to fight?
Help us save the Oasis.
So what is ClickUp? ClickUp is an all-in-one productivity software where you can manage everything and anything related to your work.
Have you ever seen a single
A hidden key, a leap not taken.
person going into
Retrace
that
your steps,
factory?
escape
There
your
must be
past.
people working there.
The only thing that comes out of that is the candy.
What part of your past are you trying to escape, Halliday?
Where's the sound coming from? I know, somebody else. What else is playing?
This is the
Sorry. This is the earlier one. Okay, sorry. Yeah, this is done. Yeah. Okay, so what you saw earlier, we take this for granted when we watch a film, right? Okay, filmmaker, somebody directed it, somebody made it, great budgets and huge things. There's imagination. If somebody didn't think about it like this, somebody made it happen. But where is this going? And is this only left for, people within this particular industry to think of? Why are we losing out on this whole idea of thinking like this? And this happens in bits and pieces. And we think it's great, when it's happening within a project. Now look at this. Now that was future. It was future, past, classic, VR, technology meaning showing technology in the future, emotion, all of those things put together. And films have been able to do that. Look at this one.
Have you ever seen a single person going into that factory?
There must be people working there.
The only thing that comes out of that place is the candy. I'd give anything in the world just to go in that amazing factory.
Dear people of the world, I, Willy Wonka, have decided to allow 5 children to visit my factory.
5 golden tickets have been hidden underneath the wrapping paper of 5 ordinary Wonka bars.
Wouldn't it be something, Charlie, to open a bar of candy and find a golden ticket?
I only get one bar a year.
That is impossible. You found Wonka's last golden ticket.
From director Tim Burton.
Please enter.
Who are you?
He's Willy Wonka.
I'm Tyler Dad.
I don't care.
I don't like chocolate. I love the chocolate.
I can see that.
I'm very puzzled. Daddy, I want another pony.
You're my TV.
Die!
Okay. And you. Well, you're just lucky to be here, aren't you? Welcome to the factory.
Warner Brothers invite you to enter a whole new world. Unlike anything you've ever imagined.
It's beautiful.
Where dreams are your reality.
Look over there.
They're at Olympus.
Back off, you little freaks.
I do say that all seemed rather rehearsed.
You're really weird.
And Willy Wonka
Let's boogie.
is your guide.
Ew.
This year, 5 lucky kids will follow in his footsteps.
I want a squirrel.
Don't catch that squirrel's nuts.
Why is everything here completely pointless?
But only one
Candy doesn't have to have a point. That's why it's candy.
will find his heart.
Hold on.
Johnny Depp. Charlie and the Chocolate.
Kid like, childlike imagination. Do you think this doesn't excite us? Right? Is it only for children? Going into a chocolate factory. But there is somebody imagined this. Why are we running away from this? Right? One is that futuristic, which needs certain kind of a skill in terms of also thought and imagination. And this is something else, which is exaggeration. You look at all the design principles there. Exaggeration, unity, scale, change of scale, right? All these things. Let's look at another one. Ouch. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was open on top. Okay. This is not a part of the instruction.
फेस माछी 100% વધુ ગ્લિસરીન જ્યાં पे ચહેરાને એક ખાસ ગ્લો बिना कोई मेकअप फेस नो मेकअप ग्लो
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sure. You all watched Inception? Do you understand it? No, nobody wants to say no.
An idea. A single idea from the human mind can build cities. An idea can transform the world and rewrite all the rules. Which is why I have to steal it.
Never recreate from your memory. Always imagine new places.
He's hiding something, and we need to find out what that is.
We gotta break out of here. Give him the kick. This was not a part of the plan.
And one last one.
What's the most resilient parasite? An idea. Does it ever make anything happen? The human mind.
Anything you can explain.
Can build cities.
You're a wizard, Harry.
I'm a what?
An idea can transform the world.
Dear Mr. Potter, we are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. In a few moments you will pass...
Oh, is it? Oh, both of them are playing together. Oh, okay. Sorry, thank you.
Did you ever make anything happen? Anything you couldn't explain? You're a wizard, Harry.
I'm a what? Dear Mr. Potter, we are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry.
In a few moments, you will pass through these doors and join your classmates.
Keep an eye on the staircases. They like to change.
Good afternoon, class. Welcome to your first flying lesson. Stick your right hand over the broom and say up. Wow. Mr. Longbottom, exactly where do you think you're going?
Do you really have the scar? Wicked.
Mr. Potter, our new celebrity.
First years should note that the Dark Forest is strictly forbidden, with no magics to be used between the classes and the corridors.
Petrificus totalis.
The third floor corridor is out of bounds to everyone who does not wish to suffer a most painful death.
Understand this, Harry, because it's very important. Not all wizards are good.
I'm going to bed before either of you come up with another clever idea to get us killed. Or worse, expelled.
She needs to sort out her priorities.
I think it is clear that we can expect great things from you.
So most of you watched all these four? Any two? 2 out of 4? How many? 3 out of 4? All 4? How many all 4? Okay. Now, do you think that this level of imagination is left only for, there's product design, there's art, there's architecture, there's people, there's narrative, there's story, there's emotion, and that as a whole is creating this whole entire experience. So are we not finally creating experiences? And this is not in order to reinvent what you're doing as solving certain problems. But along with that, if the possibility of creating this, and look at the power that we have, okay? Okay. Now, right now, you're first going to start doing something that you may not have done for a long time, because you were subjected to certain visuals, 4 different types, which were completely composed and created, and creating what? Visual plus audio to give you a complete immersive experience. Okay. Now you're going to use something that you did not use as much earlier, because images kept coming to you very quickly, right? In a certain context and syntax, right? And the narrative, even if it was a trailer, it kind of gave you glimpses of the story and told you what it is all about, right? Now you start listening to this, okay? It's called an unexpected party. In a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit. Not a nasty, dirty, wet hole, filled with the ends of worms and oozy smell, nor yet a dry, bare, sandy hole with nothing in it to sit down on or to eat. It was a hobbit hole, and that means comfort. It had a perfectly round door like a pothole, painted green, with a shiny yellow brass knob in the exact middle. The door opened on a tube-shaped hall like a tunnel, a very comfortable tunnel without smoke, with paneled walls and floors tiled and carpeted, provided with polished chairs, and lots of pegs for hats and coats. The hobbit was fond of visitors. The tunnel wound on, going fairly but not quite straight into the side of the hill. The hill, as all the people for many miles round called it, and many little round doors opened out of it, first on one side and then on another. Not going upstairs for the hobbit, no going upstairs for the hobbit, bedrooms, bathrooms, cellars, pantries, lots of these, wardrobes. He had whole rooms devoted to clothes, kitchens, dining rooms, all were on the same floor, and indeed on the same passage. The best rooms were all on the left-hand side, going in, for these were the only ones to have windows, deep-set round windows looking over his garden and meadows beyond, sloping down to the river. This hobbit was a very well-to-do hobbit, and his name was Baggins. The Bagginses had lived in the neighborhood of the hill for time out of mind, and people considered them very respectable, not only because most of them were rich, but also because they never had any adventures or did anything unexpected. You could tell what a Baggins would say on any question without the bother of asking him. This is the story of how a Baggins had an adventure, found himself doing and saying things altogether unexpected. He may have lost the neighbor's respect, but he gained, well, you will see whether he gained anything in the end. Right? You listened to a passage which is descriptive and something that is related to, because you could understand so many words. They were not everything that was concocted or created, because you know that context of carpets, rooms, doors, knobs, etc. What were you able to do with all of this put together? Imagine a dark hole being comfortable. Right? There are things of unfamiliarity and familiarity which come in together. And what it did was created a picture in your mind. Created a picture in your mind. What is that picture? Let's simplify that. Now this is the small little exercise that we will do. Extension of what just happened in your mind right now. Some of you may have already may have experienced this, but I've done this earlier. And you will realize the power that one single word has. Okay? And what you're going to do is, can we have the board? What you're going to do is, this is, have you watched Men in Black? In Men in Black, there is a flasher. When the flasher goes, you forget everything. Short-term memory loss. Correct? You forget that particular incident. When I say flash, you will for a moment erase anything in your mind. Right? Go completely no mind, blank. Okay? Then I will utter a word. What you have to do is, the first thought that comes into your mind is what you capture. Right? And hold on to that thought. We will quickly have a discussion and then we'll proceed to the next bit, and that will be the end of it. Okay? How much time do we have? Oh, really? No. No. 90. It cannot go beyond 90 minutes. So how much have we? So which means 11. Okay. Take it. Fine. Should be okay. Should be. Everybody can see, even you guys there. Okay. Thank you. All right. Sir, very good morning. Good to have you. Thank you. This is very interesting, and this is something that Sir has been instrumental in helping evolve this. He doesn't know that, but yes, this happened in the final year, and then which led to my thesis, which was on metaphors in design. And this was the start. And this is what happened in the redesign of an object by Professor Kumar Vyas in the second year, when we were introduced to the whole idea of redesigning an object through metaphors, which is through attributes. Okay, how do we come to that, and how does that become a creative solution or a creative process? We'll come to that. Okay, the moment I say flash, after flash there'll be silence. You'll be completely blank. Don't think about anything else. And the word that I utter is going to create some image in your mind. Hold on to that image, and they will be all different. It'll be your own interpretation. Okay. Flash. Tree. 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 Got it? Captured? Everyone's got a tree in their mind? Okay. Okay, let's begin. What did you have? What came into your mind? Yeah. Curvy linear lines. Curvy linear lines. This is a lovely board we have here where there's so much history. Curvy linear lines. Okay. So, mango tree. How big was the tree? Were you under the tree, above the tree, beyond the tree? How far? Okay, you're watching the tree. Almost large scale tree, right? Huh? 50. Okay, because we are all architects and designers, so we also have. Do you see the mangoes or not the mangoes? Only the tree. You see the mangoes in the mango tree? Mangoes and birds. Okay. So mangoes and okay. You can see the branch. How much of the trunk can you see? You can. Oh, there's a jhula also. That just came in right now, but no problem. The jhula came in, and then there are birds. Maybe there are birds, and there are red birds, Rishabh. Today, red is the color of the day. Yes. So everybody has definition of eucalyptus tree. Can you describe the eucalyptus tree? And yes, and obviously the bark is slightly tiny. It goes there. Okay. So, हाँ चलो आप बताओ. Okay, Christmas tree, great. Triangular tree, Christmas tree. Perspective manner means? Okay. So it's like an avenue, right? Perspective. So, right, something like that. Perspective. Okay. If anything, illustration is missing. Like in your Christmas tree, this is a live Christmas tree, right? They're not like with the. They don't have all those, right? Okay. At the back, yeah. Banyan tree. Okay. And where was the banyan tree? Acha. You were in front of the tree here. How close? 20 feet. Okay. Where we are fantastic at such specification. And the roots also here, right? And you can't go close. The river is in front of you or behind you? The river is behind the tree. Okay, nice. Okay. Yes. Family tree, lovely. I like that. Family tree कैसे होती है? But I like this. I'm going to put this down separately as family tree because that's the fun actually. You already cracked the fun. Yeah, t, right? Something like that. Achha. Okay. Let's do anybody? Any more trees? Yes. Oh, weird. We won't weird. Oh, you're feeling like a bird on the tree. You're feeling like a bird, or are you the bird? You're the bird, and you're on the tree. What kind of a tree is it? So for the bird, what kind of a tree is it? Achha. Oh, so the tree, the bird knows it's a banyan tree. Okay. So. You kind of say, where are you? But like you're somewhere here or you're somewhere here, or Achha, it's a hanging. So it's like a parrot. Parrot can hang onto the. Okay, you can hang me, nahi. What? Okay, so we have some associations coming in. So we have this association. This is repersonified as a bird from human, and this is all human perspective, no? Okay. What is common in all of this? Tree. What is tree? What is tree? Symbol of life. Okay, you're going into another level. But before that, what is symbol? तो बाद में बनेगा. पहले क्या है? हाँ क्या? Composition of trunk. अच्छा, can I do the trunk like this? No. हाँ, perpendicular to the ground. Excellent. Then it has branches. यहाँ से आएगी? Mostly यहाँ से. फिर leaves. Could be or could be, है ना? Or could be, but still remains the same. So in all probability, to say that all of us, it could be coniferous trees, right? Eucalyptus and all that, which is like grows in the mountains, which could be like this. They're tall, or they're like this, or they are like this, right? Can we accept that this is a tree? No doubt, correct? And as you started explaining that if somebody from Mars calls, language understandable, usko tree nahi malum. Somebody doesn't know tree, we could have said ped, but tree worked for all of you. So whether it was ped, jhad, tree, I don't know any other language. ये true है. What we know, we take for granted. We know this is a tree, and yet with so many different trees, subjecting ourselves in front of it, on it, under it, julying, sitting, being a bird, whatever, this does not change. And this, for any word, is concept. It is the concept of a tree. Tree is just a name given in one language to describe or signify this particular concept. And this is what we end up forgetting. When we go back to basic understanding of concept, it comes in even in a word. And that universal understanding, irrespective of language, is what connects these things, right? Now, how does this help us in creativity and design? And let us shock ourselves, and generally this is done through chits, but we will not be able to, because of the setup, we will not be able to do it with chits. We will do it with something that you as kids remember. Correct? You remember name, place, animal, things? So we'll cancel this because this is a proper noun. This is also a proper noun. Let's look at animal and things. So take your notebooks, write down two words under animal and things without sharing with each other. This is not a group exercise, this is an individual exercise. Any? No parameters. क्रिएटिविटी की बात कर रहे हैं, फिर पैरामीटर्स से शुरू कहाँ से करेंगे? नहीं चलेगा that's fine, thanks. I know no, but we'll manage. 15 minutes, we did pretty much done. हाँ so that's not a feedback, but that's just to understand. That they can keep. We're not going to discuss that right now. Yeah. But it needs to be given. No, it needs to be given now. No, we give them now. They give at the end of the day. Chalega. Anytime is okay. I'll do that. Yeah, got it? Two words at least. Huh? You have it on a... It's okay. We'll do... So now what we will do is... and why this is important. Okay. Vishal, you've got 2 words, 2 each. Just stand up, don't read them out. Ma'am, there. Yeah. Just stand up, please. You've got 2 words each. Okay. Tell me your animal. Sorry, the board was a last minute thing. Yeah, your animal. Okay. And one more. And your things. साथ में जाते हैं दोनों. It's very good, yeah. So nice. Yeah. No constraints. Very good. Bottle and glass. Okay. Let's start with something very, very simple. What were your animals? They don't go together. Okay. And what were your things? Huh? Okay. Glass and elephant. Can you combine these two? Put them in a mixer and mix them. What is going to happen? You remember no? Physical reaction and chemical reaction. Physical reaction, physical properties don't change. Yes, yes, I want that. Batana. What happens? Really, we want some loves. Oh, nice. So what happened? Can you explain, please? Into a slush. So what is the slush like? What is the slush like? If you mixed an elephant in a glass in a mixer grinder, what happened? What was the slush like? Describe the slush. Okay, that's a word. How do you describe it? If you physically described it, was it gray, more gray? With that, it has some shiny parts of the glass. The glass was completely crushed because glass has silica. So so what was it? Shiny, gray, gooey. Oh, there was blood and muscle also. It was not just gray because gray is just the skin. So you're seeing it like that. So now it didn't matter whether it was an elephant or not. Okay. So now can you imagine actually how large was your mixer? Or how small was your elephant? What happened? Now can the glass go into the elephant or the elephant can go into the glass? Can you think of the elephant sitting in the glass? On the glass? Inside the glass? Squeezing inside the glass? Big glass, small elephant, large elephant. Did you ever think of glass and elephant together? Okay, but very easy to think of elephant made out of glass. Glass as a material, not glass as the bottle wala glass. Right? Okay, quick, another one. Now let's do this. Chair and a bottle. 2 things now, forget the animal. 2 gooey. Chair and animal. Chair and bottle, sorry. Think. How are you going to associate them together? So innovative, so fantastic. The bottle is placed on a chair, okay, and it's just a bottle, correct? Now there you're coming. Okay, the legs of the chair become the bottle. Bottle shaped chair, that's brilliant. Bottle shaped chair. No problem. Bottle shaped chair. Yes, single bottle. The bottle is what, 1 liter or a pint? 5 liters, okay. Oh, then it can be 20 liter and you can just sit on it. Okay. So have you seen, why are you imagining the bottle only to be, the bottle can be squashed, right? This is done, no? The bottle is squashed and turned. Possible? So bottle, chair, right? We're not getting into. Now these are what? What are these called? What we are doing right now are still pretty much similes. What we are still not doing is metaphors. Number one, the first thing was, okay, I'll give you one example of, I'll just put two words here and start thinking about these two words, because this is one of the exercises that I remember these two words very well because they were brilliant, okay? Column. This came out of a picking of word exercise. Saliva. Now start putting these two things together. Now, if you actually look at English language, you have options like this. Now stop thinking. It could be a salivic column or it could be colymic saliva. Now start imagining. Yes, what do you get? Yeah. Okay, so, oh, nice. So there's a big creature and has a column, kind of a bone. Yeah, bone is which is like a column, and drooling. Superb, great. Yes, sir. Correct. So, right. So you okay. So within the same object, but they are both not completely integrated, right? More. Okay. So the entire cityscape is falling. It's melting, right? So solid and liquid, right? So solid liquidifying, something like that, right? Which is vertical. So conceptually, column is similar, no? In all cases, it's column which we understand as being vertical. The first one itself was interesting because you kind of twisted it and made it horizontal, because you substituted something else with a column. Fair. More. Come on. Yes, burning candle. Okay, that's not bad. A burning candle is decent enough. And I'm saying decent enough because you can go into any level of imagination. Please, it's your own mind. It's okay to shock yourself. You may not share all the imagination that comes in your mind, but see, now you're getting smiles. There, she's going, okay, there, all right. So that's all right. That's what the human mind can do. So you were saying a candle, which is a burning candle, which just kind of, yeah, so it's similar because you've got a solid thing almost liquefying. What else? Like a candy? Yes. Licking, superb, excellent. Yeah, I've heard that before. Excellent. Right, a column, candy, licking. So saliva is being splashed onto it because it's, yeah, yes. Yeah. Correct. Oh, nice. Very nice. So, column is reinterpreted not as being just vertical, but as something which has a stiffness and something which is elongated. Now that's amazing. Now imagine if you were to actually substitute a column within a building and think about it like this. Would you go back to the frog and say that, okay, there is a possibility of it retracting itself, becoming a flexible column? Imagine that happening in a structure. Circling back. Not necessary, and I'll tell you how that also can happen. And there were some examples of with students who said, somebody said that, they could see Corinthian columns, because whenever you see column, a lot of times you think of column, you think of Corinthian, because I don't know, we've been, kind of too blasted with that image or whatever. And they're looking at a Corinthian column, which is like, really out of scale, and then there is a gooey liquid, transparent gooey liquid falling on it, oozing on it. So you're seeing column and saliva both together, but in a different scale. Somebody said something very interesting. He said, I'm imagining a column in a recipe book and I'm salivating, because that also is a column, right? So you can have rows and columns, you can have column, and you can have a written column, which is a recipe, and when you're reading it, you're salivating. So that's another way. Just an interpretation, but it's something that came to somebody's mind. Now, my only two aspects here. One is that we understood that we can go back to a very simple word called tree. We can have different ways of looking at a tree with one word, and yet go back to the same concept, conceptually it being constant, right? And that is what we understand a tree to be. If you were to explain to a Martian, what is it? It's a vertical, it's almost kind of mostly on the browns, and there's a foliage, and the foliage could be vertical, blah, 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 but it is always above, and there are roots, and sometimes you don't see it, sometimes you see it, which anchors it. It's always anti-gravity, right? Mostly moving towards the sun. So conceptually, a tree is done. Here we went back to basics of concepts of glass as a material or glass as a shape, and then changed it by taking for granted certain things that we understand of a chair. This exercise can be a complete 6 weeks exercise. I'm just demonstrating the power of imagination. Had you ever before this even thought of these two words together or these two words together? No. If there is so much of power of associative word concepts, of just two simple words like this, can you imagine what can generate out of actual brainstorming or actual design process when we are actually giving exercises? And that's when we start talking about from the attribute side. And now I'll end it with the last thing when you mentioned family tree. Sorry, you mentioned family tree. Crazy, right? This is already an association where you're taking the aspect, what we call is the attribute of a tree, which is generally this and branches, and that's what a family is. One thing, it goes in like this, and then it has been represented in multiple ways, because we have to start here, we can't start here. The tree actually starts here, but in a family tree, a tree starts from the top, right? So it's always been made to feel like that. Otherwise, in all practical purpose, the tree is actually like this. But there is a treeness, and that treeness is one of those attributes. I'm not getting into this entire process, but it is the treeness which is the attribute. And one of that treeness is this, which you're connecting to family, associating both together, and coming to something called family tree, which we could understand very easily. So, I think we pretty much at 75 minutes out of 90. We've got 15 minutes. You've been given a form which you can fill up now or later. It's extremely important, and it may tax your brains a little bit in terms of, and this is in order to learn and understand how you're kind of dealing with certain aspects of design. This, I think, more or less kind of covers 8 or 9 points in terms of how we approach design projects or problems in the academic side. But it'll give a great insight for yourself also to keep, take a photograph of it once you fill it in, and figure out in terms of how you're ticking these boxes as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of those. Okay. So to end it, what I need is, I need a little bit of an understanding in terms of, which is the last question on this, is any creative project that you remember. Anybody wants to share? I'll just take 2 or 3 of it. Okay, forget that. Chalo, we'll come to that. We'll come to the creativity part, because I think, you know, you've been given. Tell me, and we're going to address that a little later as well, but we've got 10-15 minutes. Any major challenges? The first question. What are the major challenges that you faced? Is creativity is a challenge? Creative blocks is that a challenge? Getting students to work is a challenge? Superb, superb. And that's a big problem today, right? It is a challenge. How do you not, and I mean, maybe foundation you may be able to, but frankly, they're more, you know, aware of tools, etc., much easily. So it's extremely difficult for them to not have, and this is the whole idea. Why the whole idea of doing creativity workshops today, and me embarking upon this journey, and it's just the beginning, is because we are given so much of visuals, so much visuals are available easily, that if we do not tap into the mind and to be able to create generative concepts, then we will be using generative AI without anything. And generative AI is also possible only if we are able to give in that kind of an imaginative prompt. So we as human minds are extremely powerful. You are in that space and time in that position to be able to excite these many minds and to be able to make them think, imagine and create. Yeah? Charged enough? Dopamine, serotonin, huh? So isn't just two words coming together becoming such a aha moment? Can you imagine when we kind of actually do what Shamini was saying, you know, that if you're able to, and believe me, it may feel like a task, but during the entire exercise, if you are able to actually do that exercise that you've given to the students yourself in a very short period of time, you know, absolutely, and that is a big fear that faculty have. I've spoken to a lot of them. They don't want to challenge themselves by doing that. When the student is doing it, they'll have 20 ideas to give them, right? Do it like this, or you could do this, you could do that, you could do that. Okay, another major fallacy, Rishabh, I think we've discussed this earlier, is this whole idea of you could do this or you could have done this, you know, in juries when we say, no, could have to anything could have. What is there? And that is what you've got to prompt and figure out how you can pull out the best possible creative idea out of that, not a creative solution only, because solution they will come to. But that time that the students have, especially in foundation, is that ability or that chance to fly. Right? Sounds good? Any challenges you want to share? That was a good point. Yeah? Okay, excellent. So I'll what you're saying I'm getting, and it may not be completely true in a certain manner. Number one, that there is not a completely right and wrong prompt to give, right? It is only in the expectation of a right response, correct? But there isn't a specific right response also. And what I've seen is that what worked with us, but with the students today, what is working is shorter term goals rather than longer term goals, which means shorter, quicker exercises are working extremely well with a very, very predetermined endpoint. That means you should know as a faculty that this is what we are going to get out of it. You cannot get everything out of that small exercise, but you need to know if you have these 8 points, for example, you know that you're testing them for these 3 things, which the project is not going to test. The project is going to test for the other 5 things. This is going to test. So let's, you know, push that imagination, etc. Now they open up and then they're able to start thinking imaginatively within the project. Or the other way around, that the project itself is too imaginative. Let's try and give them some constraints within a shorter period of time. They are able to gauge and understand that much better and therefore get more immersed, right, in that. So I think to break that into certain, as a faculty, you need to know, or we need to know, what is that endpoint for that particular exercise, short or long. And too many long exercises. Also, another thing is that because it's a very questioning generation, and very rightly so, and that is what also generates a lot, that's another methodology that can be used in terms of actually get them completely khali. See, the best way is to empty out in order to generate something new. You completely are empty. Now that's another way the prompt works. Imagine telling them that find out all the visuals, put everything together, do an interpretation. What I was saying was boxing, when we were saying genre. So we have classification. Can we help them classify? And if you as a faculty are not completely tuned to it, get an expert. Get somebody in only for that day or that exercise. Say that, you know, you want to classify into genres, say for example, of design, get somebody else who can kind of put them and give them a certain kind of a perspective. It's not a history class, it's just boxing it correctly, right? The other is that you give them a chance to look at so many visuals, or imagine even actually using ChatGPT and saying that, okay, creative solutions, put that all out and then tell them. So we do this when we have, you know, a graphic design project, and we have logo design, we give it to the entire team, not just the designer who's working on it. So there is one common exercise which is like a time problem for even the interior designers in the office who are working on a graphic design project. What happens is, also whatever based on that concept, whatever is available on the internet is already taken and seen and put in front of the client, which means what happens, that's your start point. That you don't even go into doing this at all, even by mistake. Now that you are influenced, because you won't know if somebody's actually been influenced, you don't want to have a solution which already exists. So you ghada khali kar do. This is it. All this exists, but we are now going to start from here. And that is another thing that can be done. So short-term spurt-based exercises are very good to kind of empty out so that you can look at the exercise fresh. Yeah, sounds good. So thank you so much, and all the best to push imagination and creativity within yourselves and the students. Thank you so much. Thank you. Just told them how you were out. So that form needs to be filled, and you can give it at as early as possible is better. Give it pre-lunch, it's much better. It's not feedback or anything, but it's only to understand, and we're going to collate all of it together because there are different questions to understand in terms of how you approach this. Thank you. Thank you so much.